substantial amount of money. So can you give us details of who in your department allowed the payment twice or 3 times?
Thank you, Chair. As I've indicated, our risk management unit has done a thorough investigation on that, and the money is being recovered, and disciplinary process has been taken against those
That's not
officials.
detail. I asked for detail. Give me detail, please. Detail. Tell me, 87 million. You know, you must understand, you came here with nothing. Okay? You've walked into this room with no presentation on the 87 million. You've given me, well, from our own figures, what we've gleaned from our own reports that we've looked at, we've worked this out. You've come here with nothing. So I'm now asking you to give me a list of exactly who was involved in 87 million rands worth and what's being done. Please don't tell me we've investigated and actions being taken. That's not the detail I want.
Through you, Chair, we'll make the list available. We do have the list of all the individuals. But
why don't you have it today?
Sorry?
Why don't you have it today? Why don't you have the detail that we wanted today?
No, we do have it. That's what I'm saying. We will make it available through the Chair.
Did you know the scope of the hearing today? Did you know we were discussing 2015, 2016? Did you know that? Chair, these are fair questions. Today was about 2015-16. You're a CFO. I assume you know what's in and an acting DG now. Heaven help us. You knew we were discussing this report today, this report. All right? You would have received a letter from SCOPA. And that letter, I'm sure, would have indicated, because it goes to all the others, that we would be looking at irregular expenditure, accruals, fruitless and wasteful. And you don't come here, well, first of all, you dishonor us and disrespect us by not bringing data for us, okay? And now you say, I'll send you a list. I'm sorry, that's unacceptable. If you've got it, can you phone a colleague now and get the information and give it to us now? Or would you like to push that buck to someone else?
Can I come in, Chair? Yes. No, I want to assure you, from what I have been doing together with with the management of the department, I do have the names. I do have the names in what I have been following, working together with the department. And I can promise you, Chair, before the end of the day, or before the end of this sitting, I can give you all those names. The acting DG may not have the names, but in my own file where I deal with management on following the issues, there are names of every single individual where disciplinary action has been taken.
Minister, with the risk of crossing swords with you, I take no comfort in your assurance. Okay, you may give it to the Chair now then, thank you. More disrespect, why didn't you give it to us before? Chair, Minister, you may think that you came to see a portfolio committee this morning. This is a different environment. Here we ask hard questions and we need answers. Okay, it's a tough place, I do apologize for that. But all of my colleagues right along the line, you will ask the same severity of questions. This is SCOPA, this is what we do. So, is there no possibility of getting that list today? Is that what we're saying?
Chair, through you, I think what I've said, and as I had indicated, I was invited to come in and give explanation on the issues, and I did. But as I'm indicating now is that I have a file that I generate to follow on all the audit issues, and in it I do have a report of all the names. In fact, I was saying if there was time, one would actually go through all of them. But I can immediately forward a list to the chairperson of the portfolio committee, because I also don't understand because the consultation with the SCOPA was that we did not have to come in and bring additional information, and hence SFISO says they felt it was not, the acting DG said they felt it was not necessary. But with me, I have everything that has to do with what you were not comfortable with in the last appearance of the portfolio of of the Department of Water and Sanitation. But the long and short of it, as I've said, I do appreciate the tough issues in SCOPA, as they are tough also in the portfolio committee. And my intention coming here was to actually come and clarify my own situation as I was asked by the chair. And I can be in a position to then undertake to give you the lists and take all the records that I use to interact with the department on these matters.
You know, Minister, and I appreciate that, and I must say I do. I respect my elders. I was taught that by my parents, and I see you as my elder. But I'm talking to your CFO because he is the person responsible. You are throwing yourself into the fire here, and you're stepping in to protect him. But unfortunately, ma'am, what you're giving us is just words. We're not getting details and information on the paper. So until you can actually provide us with that list and provide us with what's happening, I think we should just move on and just regard it as another failure by your department. Right, let's go to consequence management. The last time you appeared before us, we were honored with receiving a scanned copy of your disciplinary record. It would have been nice to receive a copy that we could go through, that I didn't have to turn my computer sideways to look at it. Would have been nice. But once again, we're used to the disrespect from your department. So may I please speak? I don't know if you got the information on this, and once again, if you want to step into the breach, you're welcome to. But your risk management official here assisted me last time. So I'd like to know, we've got zero suspensions. Sorry, 0 dismissals. That's where we currently are. In terms of your document which you gave us today, we're still on 0 dismissals. Is that right? Has anything changed in that regard? I'm just trying to get a status update. Because it's interesting that in May, which was, how many months ago is that now? That's about 3 months, eh? Or almost 4 months ago. So let's just focus on this. So in May, we had 0 dismissals. On August the 22nd, we've still got 0 dismissals. So in 4 months, no movement. I'm assuming, you see, this is assuming that this report was compiled in the last day or two, or whether you've just dragged this out to throw it at us today. And it hasn't been updated. Then in May, we had 3 suspensions. Has that been updated? Let's start there. I don't know who's going to answer these questions. Minister, are you going to help us, or is your risk management official, I forget his name, is he going to assist?
I'll get Chris to respond.
Thank you, Chairperson. The disciplinary inquiries, you're correct, there's no one has been dismissed. Some of the inquiries is still ongoing. They have a...
No, we'll get to that. We'll get to that. Let me work through it. So, just work with it. Suspensions, still 3. Or is that now 4 now with the DG?
Yes, nothing has changed.
Okay, that was quite a long pause to give me a very simple answer.
No. That's not a correct answer.
It can't be the correct answer. Because if it was 3, then it surely must be 4 now if you've just suspended the DG. Three plus 1 is 4. That helps when you're dealing with financial issues.
Chairperson, the suspension of the DG is not directly related to the irregular expenditure that we are busy with. So it's not added to this.
Okay, that's a very... Okay, well, let's get into that. Why has the DG been suspended?
Let me get into that one and commit myself. Amongst other things are issues of accounting to Parliament and dereliction of duty in terms of administration and failure to comply with the responsibilities of an accounting officer on matters related to implementation of the APP. And fourthly, it is related to failure to process and deal with the administration of the department. And now that the matter is before a panel that is dealing with the discipline and the charges against the DG chair, I would wish to end at that point, because we are now in the process where there is a preparation, a final preparation this coming Friday, then to start with the hearing.
Okay. Okay, Chair. All right. Final written warning, still 35? Are we still 35, final written warnings?
Chairperson, it is increased.
Okay, hang on a second. This here from May says 35, okay? This here, which the minister gave us this morning, says 35. But it's increased. When did it increase? Is this report, give me your clarity, is this from May or is this from now?
No, it's from May.
It's from May.
Yes, that's the
So, oh, this is the undated one. So, Minister, you gave us old information this morning. About half of your speech this morning was old information.
We were called to come and deal with issues that could not be resolved at the time when I was not there. And my understanding was that we will then act on the basis of the submissions that were presented then, and nothing new. And that is the understanding that I had. Because if there are new developments from that time until now, then that would have been something else. Because remember, the committee sent the department back. And after sending the department back, then the committee requested that the minister should come. And that's why we are here, to deal with those issues that were not resolved
Right,
at that
thank
time.
you, Minister. All right, okay. So how many final written warnings are we on now? Do you have that at your fingertips?
Yes, Chairperson. The final written warnings are 92. The verbal warnings is 2. That no change from.
Verbal warnings is still
2.
12. Written warnings, how many written warnings do we have
Written
now?
warnings is 34.
34. So that's gone down from 107. How did
No,
that
Chairperson.
happen?
No, the written warnings is 34. The final written
Do
warnings
you know
is
that
92.
in this report, which was given to us now,
Yes.
it's 107? How did it go down to 34?
Is
Did
it
you
not?
write off about...
Okay.
Can
No,
you-
it must have been combined. Then the verbal was the 2, and the counselling was the
Okay,
5
see.
in KZN that went for counselling.
This is indicative of your department. Here we go. A report you gave us this morning. The minister was working with it. So, and the minister has just acknowledged that it's from May. Okay? Fair enough, Minister. I don't know what the terms of reference given to you by the chair, but you say it's from May. Now your risk management man is telling us that from 35, final written warnings has jumped to 92. That gives us, we're happy about that. We'd like to see more. But then he tells us that written warnings have dropped from 107 to 34. Did you write off 73 written warnings? And then verbal warnings have dropped from 12 to 2. Did you withdraw your statement to get from 12 to 2? It's this level of confusion that puts your department where it is, Minister.
Yes. No, Chairperson, I acknowledge from the 100, it is 107, it's not 35. I made a mistake here. But there's nothing that has been cancelled. We cannot cancel a written warning.
Oh, now I know that.
So the written warnings that have been issued will
So
remain
why did
as
you
they
say
are.
that? Why did you say that?
The 35.
Yes.
Maybe I just confused myself here with the figures, but they cannot be cancelled. Once they've issued, they are issued.
I'm really not finding any comfort here. It reminds me of a song. All right. No, I'm not going to sing. Counselling? Where's that?
counselling still the same, Chairperson. It was people in KZN that
Okay,
went
yeah,
for counselling.
what's your figure?
5.
Oh, well done. Okay. All right. How many people have retired? I'm just checking.
I'll just check in the. It's not 22, Chairperson.
It's not, that's gone up. Okay, see, that's fair. I mean, more people can retire. Okay. Now, taking no disciplinary action, has that increased from 125 or is it still 125?
In fact, Chairperson, we have the CFOWT did take disciplinary action on those instances. Those matters were reviewed. It was in the WTE. It related to AutoPack, where there were cell phones that purported from one system to another. So there, disciplinary action was taken, or is in the process of being taken. As well as the other was MTN, where they were porting from cell phones to MTN. So in that instance, the CFO is in the process of taking action. So the 125, the way we said there was not going to be, is currently in process. They're taking disciplinary action.
All 125?
All of them, Chairperson.
All of them.
All of them.
So there's going to be some action taken, or you currently investigating?
With the investigations is done, it's now the process of taking them through the disciplinary processes that is unfolding.
Okay, now here's something pretty critical. In May, you told us there were 141 under review, and we agreed that that meant being investigated. Okay? Where are we with that?
Chairperson, as I said, all the investigations have been completed. All these matters are now in the process of being subjected to disciplinary processes. For instance, we've got, I think, I don't want to mislead, but in Limpopo, we've got a large number of disciplinary inquiries taking place. So from the ones that we've done, they are all being subjected to disciplinary processes.
Is that in here? Is that in this document? Do we have that? You must understand, this committee, and I'm sure anybody watching, we don't really trust anything you say, frankly, because you mix up your numbers all the time and that sort of thing. So 141 plus 125, can you give us details of those 266 matters that you're dealing with? Where are the details of that? Is that in this document that we've been laid on table this morning, or do you have that somewhere else?
Chairperson, I have this track sheet that I use. So the details is here with the people's names, as well as the date of the incident. So it is here. I can provide it.
Okay. Can you provide that to us? All right. Chair, it's unfortunate we didn't have that before, but you know we won't publish names on this. I'm sure this is being televised, so we're not going to do that. But we certainly would like to do it. The whole idea is consequence. We need to see consequence for people's maladministration. Right. So, and then what about the 87 million again? When are we going to get that? When are we going to get the details of the people who have worked with the implementing agents to double invoice? And as a follow-up question, has any of that money been recovered? Any of the 87 million recovered?
Yes, we are recovering the money, but we'll make the detailed spreadsheet of it before end of business today.
Okay, great. Right, let's now go to the report. And if we go to page 197. .23. I just want to take you through a couple of points here. Minister, I don't know if you can comment on this. I'm going to pose this, Minister. And are you with me, ma'am? Page 197.23. It's strategic planning and performance. Okay. This is where the AG sets out non-compliance with legislation, all right? And just to take you quickly through it, under 23 it says effective, efficient and transparent system of risk management were not followed. and it specifies which section of the PFMA. And then under financial statements, that they were not presented in the correct formats. That's point 24. And then expenditure management, 1.7 billion rand in irregular expenditure, and it specifies the PFMA and the Treasury regulations. And if you go over the page to point 27, it refers again to irregular expenditure, and then fruitless and wasteful expenditure under point 28. We're now on page 198. And then point 29, 30, and 31 refer to procurement. So let's just, if we go back points 23 through to point 28, who's responsible for that? Who is the person responsible for failure in your department in those areas before we get to procurement?
In terms of Section 38 of the PFMA, is the accounting officer who's responsible for that.
So the suspended accounting officer, these are the charges against that suspended accounting officer?
No, not necessarily.
Okay, so who's being charged? Okay, let's go specifically. Points 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28. Who is being taken to task in your department for failure in those areas, which the AG has pointed out?
Obviously,
Person or persons?
obviously, the accounting officer was there at the time, is no longer in the department, but senior managers who are there, action has been taken against those managers.
Okay, once again, I don't want to disrespect anybody, but can you provide us proof of that?
Okay.
How many are these senior managers against whom action has been taken in relation to that question?
Yes, there were 3 senior managers where action had been taken against them.
Mr. Nkeys, what about yourself? You signed off on these reports.
I joined the department towards the end of 2015-16 financial year. Obviously, most of the activity that happened there, it was prior my time in the department.
Okay, so we're going to see a great improvement. So what action is being taken against these senior managers? I mean, they've presided over fruitless and wasteful expenditure of 87 million. They've presided over 1.7 billion rands worth of irregular expenditure. Are they going to jail? What's being done to these senior managers? Or are they going to another department in the revolving door policy of government?
Absolutely not, no revolving door. One is that Mr. Mkhize assumed responsibility after action has been taken against the former chief financial officer. That's number one. Secondly, you have, again, because of the explanation that I have made, you have the current serving senior managers, the deputy director generals, who are still in the service, who had actually were overseeing this responsibility, and those are the ones that we are talking about.
What is being done to them? Can we just get to that, please? What is being done to the senior managers?
As I have said, we are now instituting a forensic investigation on some of the issues. Secondly, there are disciplinary actions that are being instituted, not only to senior managers, but also to those that are working on individual projects, including from our own implementing agents, as I've said, now post 2015-2016.
Okay, clearly I'm not going to pin you down with that sort of detail now. But how many senior managers? Let's get that out now, because we'll record that, and this is not the last time we're going to engage. So how many senior managers are going to be taken into account in terms of sections 23 to 28 of the AG report? How many?
As we speak now, 2 of our senior managers who were directly involved, as well as the chief financial officer, are the ones who are affected.
This chief financial officer?
No, the then chief financial officer.
The then chief financial officer. Where is the then chief financial officer?
The then chief financial officer is in the department, and she is also going to be affected by the forensic investigation that is taking place, as well as the recommendations that are contained in the investigation that has been meted.
When did Mr. Mkhize start? Mr. Mkhize, when did you start?
I came in November 2015.
November 2015.
Yes.
Okay, so the financial year of 2015 ended in April 2016 or March 2016. So how were you not involved in this? 2015-16, it sounds like you were there at this time. And the follow-up question to that, to you, Minister, is these 2 people and another one, very vaguely you're telling us, why is it taking us so long to act against them? This report came out in November last year. It's almost September now.
September last year.
September last year. It's a year. Why have you taken no action against people? I mean, Minister, I don't want to disrespect you. I'm sure you read these reports. And I'm sure this is not the first time you've seen these, and surely you seem very committed to fixing things. Surely you were horrified to see this and take immediate action. Surely, I'm assuming.
The list of the good you find in this report was when SFISO came in. Because at that time, we were always finding serious challenges in terms of preparing our financials. And I dare say, with the limited time that he found himself and working together with the team in the department, all that was done, a bit of it, during that last period towards the end of the financial year, came through the coming in of the chief financial officer. Secondly, I want to also indicate that one of the unfortunate things are the very processes of consequence management in the public service, because you definitely have to give people a chance to explain themselves and then go back and deal with those issues. And as I'm saying, this is work that is ongoing until we are able to resolve that. If one was able to deal with the issues overnight, that could have been done. But we are really doing our utmost best, and hence the forensic investigations, the request to get National Treasury to help on dealing with these issues, and many other interventions.
Minister, thank you. Minister, I've been in the labour environment and I've been in the forensic investigation environment. I know how long these things take. It's false equivalency to equivocate overnight to a year, completely. The bottom line is nothing has happened in your department since the publication of this report, because you cannot give us any detail on it. So that's going to have to be another thing we're going to add to the list of stuff we need. You cannot appear here and say we have taken action against I'm not talking about people's names on television, that's fine. But you can't say we've taken action against these managers and this is what's happening and this is where we are. A year on, Minister. It's not acceptable.
I have indicated that we have instituted an investigation. We are dealing with the disciplinary processes and some of the issues that have to do with this financial year, the year that we are dealing with, have to do with the charges that are there against the senior managers. I do acknowledge that it might have taken long, but what we were committed to is to make sure that action does get taken.
Okay. The previous CFO, why did the previous CFO leave?
The previous CFO had to be removed precisely because of her inability to just put together the finances of the department, abdicating the responsibility, and amongst other things, not helping us to deal with those issues in a manner that would have actually pleased the AG. And it was in the reports of the concerns that had come before the department, raised not only by the AG, including National Treasury.
Minister, when did the reports of that previous CFO's misdeeds or inability come to your attention?
They came to my attention almost at the end of the time when there was the conclusion of the audit. And
Which audit, Minister?
the audit of this financial, of the year that we are dealing
So
with.
around about September last year.
Not September last year, round about the previous year, there were indications, and then last year around March up to September, then there were issues that were raised, and that's why at that time the new CFO the previous CFO had already been removed and taken to go and assist in
I'm just
another
trying to establish, when did you become aware of the problem and how long did it take to get rid of that CFO?
the responsibilities of the inabilities that the CFO has shown and the action, they happened around late 2015, beginning of 2016.
And how long, and when did you remove that CFO?
When did Ntabiseng go there?
Because, so you had two
In
CFOs at the
July.
time, is
No,
that right?
she had to move, and that's why we then had to bring in
And-
Mr. Mkhize after.
But Mr. Mkhize told us he started in 2015.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. In 2015, that's when we picked up, when Mr. Balza was the acting chair, or the acting DG of the department, that there were serious challenges, and then we had Margaret Dedericks who came in, and we then had to deal with the issue of the CFO in 2015.
Okay, now I'm just trying to get, so how long did you take, let's get back to that, how long did you take to remove that CFO once you found out there was a problem?
Part of the responsibility of
How many months?
part of the responsibility of the DG, of the accounting officer, was to deal with those kind of issues, and she then made that recommendation, and it was brought to my attention. I'm not sure of the actual day, but the actual month
Minister,
or
I'm
days.
just trying to get an idea. You became aware of a problem at sort of the end of 2015, early 2016. We've agreed on that. How long did it take to get rid of that CFO? How many months was it?
Up until at the time when we had to bring in Mr. Mkhize to be the
And Mr.
CFO.
Mkhize, we came in when? You said late 2015. November 2015. So you came in before the CFO was dismissed.
She was removed.
But you just said up until when we had to bring Mr. Mkhize in.
She lived, she was with us, and she had to be removed before July of 2015.
Before, I'm very confused now. So she got, you became aware of this, let's just recap.
Around March
You became aware of this late 2015, early 2016.
of the late financial year of 2015, when we had the
Okay, so that would
problems.
be March.
Yes, and then she moved. She got moved around July.
So it took about 3 months to remove her. Okay, so now let's go take that and come right back to where we are and ask, in terms of points 23 to 28 in the annual report, why has it taken a year? If it took you 3 months to get rid of that person, why has it taken a year to sort out these senior managers? What's going on?
I think it has to do with two critical issues that we had to go and dig deeper. And one of the things we found was that there were problems with the system. Two, there were issues around failure to make sure that there are relationships that make the implementing agents accountable. Thirdly, there were institutional arrangements issues. And the fourth thing was then the abdication of the responsibility by the by the program managers, who are your own senior managers.
All right. But you're going to give us a full briefing as to who's being disciplined in terms of those reports,
Yeah.
those issues I've raised. Okay. What has happened to the previous CFO? Where is she now?
She is in the department, and we are acting on her capacity, because part of what we have also sought was the assistance and advice from the Public Service Commission on her qualifications and capacity to deal with issues of finance. She had also, through the previous DG, she was asked to go and assist in the Overberg Water Board.
So what you're saying is there is a revolving door policy.
No,
Yes, there is.
the Water Board is not another department. The Water Board is our agent. So she
Okay,
was
but
still within the water
you
family.
take failed employees and you don't cast them off. You use them
Ideally-
somewhere else.
Ideally, we would have said your responsibility is done overnight, but we had to follow the law, and hence we had to remove her from the responsibility and get somebody who could come in and intervene.
Could you not fire her? Was that the problem?
You
Were your systems so bad that you couldn't actually fire her?
It's not the systems that are bad, it's the law that says you can't just summarily dismiss a person.
No.
You have to follow
After
due
a
course.
process. After a process.
Once the
I told
process-
you I was in labour. I understand this.
Yes, I've been a
After
trade unionist as well.
Of course, yeah.
Yes.
So after a process.
Yeah, after a process.
Yes. Could
that's
you not
when
dismiss her?
Yes, you can then dismiss a person.
And once again, how long is the process?
Part of the issues, that's why I'm saying we even had to, through you, Chair, because of these challenges, go to the Public Service Commission and say, please check for us. What kind of capacity do we have in the 4 Deputy Directors General of the department? The Public Service Commission did a report. And because these are people who are appointed through cabinet, you then had to again look at how best you can deal with these issues, and in dealing with them, hence one of the immediate things was to say, as we deal with her fitness to perform, let's rather remove her, put her in another space, because she has been appointed for a particular position. If we could have said, thank you very much, you leave, we would have also given her a golden handshake, which is something that one has been very reluctant to do. You rather have her and deal with the issues just as you are doing with everybody else.
Okay, how did she do at Overberg Water Board?
She did Disman, Western,
Dismally.
yes,
Okay.
yes.
Okay, so you removed her as CFO, she went to Overberg, she did a terrible job, and she's back in the department
Yeah.
now. And you're telling me there's no revolving door policy, honestly.
She's not back in the department doing the same job. The issue is, Honourable.
Oh, okay. So the job doesn't matter, but you.
No.
So it's employment for life.
If I
Is
may
that right?
finish, no, it's adherence with the laws that you understand as a labor lawyer, that we can't immediately just say your job is done, you move. We have to deal with the issues that have to do with the investigations, check where the problems are, and be in a position to deal with it.
Okay. There are none that are so blind as those who cannot see. Right, let's move on. Procurement and contract management, points 29, 30, and 31. Who is your procurement person, Minister, or are you going to help us on that as well? Who's, okay, Minister, well, let's get into it. The CFO. Right, so goods and services of transaction value above 500,000 rand are procured without inviting competitive bids. How often did that happen? How many instances were there of that? And you know what's coming next, what was done about it? Do you have that information? Or are you going to get me another list?
Yes, Chair, we have the information. That's what caused some of the irregular expenditures, not all of it, but part
Okay.
of the irregular expenditure list.
How
The one
many
that you provided-
instances?
The one that you provided to the Chair, it does list the names of people who contravene the.
So
Supply chain
this list here,
No, we have provided a detailed list.
the speed sheets. Oh, that's the one you handed up now,
Yeah.
which we will get in due course. Okay, that's fine. does that also cover 30 and 31? Which is thresholds for local content in designated sectors, procurement when some instances not properly applied, and then 31 is contracts and services were awarded to bidders based on preference points that were not calculated correctly in terms of the Triple P F Act. Now,
Yes, Chair.
who looks after your Triple PF process?
In the department, we have regional offices. In each regional offices, we have regional heads and finance officials. Ultimately, it comes to the CFO, who's the head of all the procurement in the department. So action has been taken in various regions where finance officers were there, as well as regional heads. And all that is provided in the spreadsheet in terms of the names and what the nature of the transgression.
Okay, so how many instances were there of these contracts where the figures were not calculated, the preference points were not calculated properly?
Chairperson, we did not count them separately as that. It's all in the SEP. We dealt with them in incidences, but we haven't calculated it separately.
Okay, now the AG's report says that preference points that were not calculated correctly. So that opens up negligence or deliberate. Can you comment on that?
Chairperson, I think what the honourable member is referring to is exactly what he said. It was negligent. It refers to the 3 security companies that the honourable member also mentioned at our previous
Thick and
appearance.
thin.
Thick and thin, also yes. Those were not calculated properly, and that investigation is concluded. We've engaged the suspects, if I can call them as suspects, to in this regard. So yeah, it refers to exactly that, and there was negligence on that.
Okay. All right.
And then where are you? You contacted the suspects, and then what?
Chairperson, what we've done the investigation, so we have the information now. So we now supply the information to the individuals. Then we provide them with an opportunity to then seek their either legal assistance or from the union. They then get an opportunity to respond back to us. That is where we are now. We're waiting for their response to come back. Once the response is back, we will then review our findings and their response, reach a conclusion. Once we've reached a conclusion, we will then look at available case law and make a recommendation to the Director General on how we think the matter should then proceed. The matter then goes to the Director General, who will then apply his mind in terms of the law and then take a decision on that. So we are in that engagement at the moment.
How long will that take?
Chairperson, we normally give them 5 days, but to respond. But then they do ask for postponements.
When are you going to give them this information?
We should. It's difficult to say, but we should be concluding on this one. Where are we now? By mid. The report should be with the Director General by mid-September. Depending, obviously, if there's more postponements from the legal team. Sometimes they ask more information. So it takes time, but the idea is for that matter to be with the DG by mid-September.
Okay. Of all of these people under investigation, how many of them are foreigners? Are there any? Is it all South African citizens, or are there any foreigners working for the department that are under investigation?
Chairperson, I don't know the nationalities of everyone. As far as I know, it is our own employees.
So the Cubans are behaving, that's what I mean. Okay, that was just an aside. All right, just one last question, Minister. Por favor, correas las tuberas de agua. In Spanish, that means, can you please fix the pipes? So I suppose communication with the Cubans isn't going very well.
The good
Okay,
thing,
Melissa,
about,
I'm gonna-
the
I'm
good
gonna
thing
hand-
about the Cubans, they learn so quick. They speak English, others are speaking Zulu now and Shangaan.
Okay, Minister, thank you very much. I'll head over to my colleague, thank you.
Thank you very much, Chair. I'm subjecting myself, Chairperson, to your directive. Ordinarily, I would have left. I had no intention of continuing with this hearing whatsoever, because I know an ambush when I see one. And at 30, I doubt that I want to be a victim of an ambush. But because, Chair, you are here, I'm subjecting myself to your direction.
Thank you very much.
As a disciplined cadre of this committee.
Thank you very much.
Chairperson, I'm going to ask very general questions before I get into what I want to.
Just a minute, can you? Is it? Yeah. Oh, okay.
Chair,
All right.
in the 15-16 financial year, what was the overall budget allocation of the department?
If you give me a minute, I'll get to it now. But I know it was in the region of 16 billion rand.
Chair, I'd request we give him the minute.
It is 16 billion.
How much of it did you spend in that financial year?
We had an underspending of about 189 million.
Minister, you said that the media reported something when you spoke about the allegations in the media about underspend and so on, and about money, all those things, money going back. And I'm not the media spokesperson, I'm sure they're capable of doing for themselves. But I can assure you that on that particular day when you are not here, after probing and probing, the issue that you raised as a media report came from your officials. From your officials, after probing and probing. Here's where I am. So you had payables in 15-16 of 226.9 million rands. And then you had, which 190.6 million of that was payable in 30 days, and 36.3 million rand was longer than 30 days. That's in the first instance. Your accruals for 15-16 were R500 million. 45 million rands was for goods and services, and 455 was for capital projects. 68.7 million rands is for a period longer than 30 days. And the only conclusion I then again come to, Honorable Chairperson, is that had the department paid those amounts, it would have amounted to unauthorized expenditure. The inability or the decision not to pay meant, as far as I'm concerned, that it was a malicious compliance. You rather escape unauthorized expenditure, which is a far more serious transgression, and rather not pay at all. I would like Chairperson to be taken through with the most patient of detail as to how is it that we ended up with a scenario of accruals to the tune of which I've alluded to and exorbitant payables of that amount. Because, so that's the question, Chair. In clear terms, deal with the accruals and how we got there. And then secondly, Chair, in fact, before that question is answered, let me just get my train of thought right. Since 2014, Minister, when you came into the department, how many DGs have there been? Before we deal with the accruals, how many DGs since you assumed office have you had?
2.
2. And How many people have acted in the space of those 2 DGs? Yes.
When I came in, there was an acting, and then there was a DG, and then there was a DG, and then there was an acting. So there were 2 people who have acted since I came in, and 2 people who have been DGs.
Why did the first DG leave?
She sent me a notice saying she's opting to resign, and you then leave with the decision of a person.
And the second DG?
We have charged the DG, and he's still under suspension until the 16th of September, and we will be dealing with the hearing in due course.
How many CFOs has the department handed your period as minister?
2. I found one in the department.
And then, what happened to that DG, to that CFO?
That's the one that we were responding to. She had to be removed from that position immediately when we realized that this is the challenge we're facing.
So she left in July. Mr. Mkhize arrived in November. Who was operating in that? Who was acting in that position between July and November?
It was Rebecca who was then the acting CFO.
What position did she ordinarily hold outside acting?
She was a chief director.
Responsible for?
She was in the finance unit in the office of the CFO.
Okay. Chair, you know, I probe this because I want to paint the picture of instability. When will we arrive at a point in government where we can have a DG complete her term? It must at some point trigger a national resolve and a national commitment. There's something fundamentally wrong at appointment, which then lands us in this particular mess of which we are dealing with now. All right, Chair, thank you very much, Minister. So let's get into accruals. Your accruals are exorbitant, scary to say the least, frightening to say the worst. So how did we arrive at accruals 2015-16 of R500 million?
Thank you, Chair. Earlier we tried to give a breakdown of the total accruals of R500 million.
With due
Where-
respect, may I please not be referred to earlier because I think my concerns around that are known. I'm looking for a detailed explanation so that we can go into it. But I don't even have earlier here,
Okay.
so I can't refer to it.
Thank you, Chair. The breakdown of the 500 billion rand, 500 million rand of accruals is that we've given a breakdown, say, of the 500 million rand accruals, of which 457 million is for infrastructure projects and 43 million rand was for goods and services. And we went further to explain that of those invoices that were received just before we closed our books, they were still within the 30-day period, and only 36 million rand worth of invoices were over the 30-day period. So they were not longer than 30 days. In other words, there is not invoices that were received and we kept them in our offices, but it is invoices that we just received at year end. And subsequent to that, they were processed as a normal payments within the 30-day period in the subsequent financial year.
So, so you had 16 billion rands for the financial year. You're having accruals of R500 million. If I were to make the exaggerated assumption that had the year end not ended on the 31st of March 2016 and say it ended in August 31, 2016, where would you have gotten the money to pay this exorbitant amount of money that you had outstanding? Because all you had at year end was 189 million rands. And I'm still interested to understand in what areas did you actually underspend that 180 million rands from?
Chair, we are dealing with multi-year projects. And In some of these projects, depending on the nature and the programming of it, some of them work gets done quicker. Take Guyana for instance. Guyana was earmarked to be done over 5 years, but the phase 1 of it has been completed in the 2.5 years. So instead of surrendering money back, where the projects we see value and they are moving at the speed other than other projects, we do commit funding for those projects and we pay them thereof. Hence, we had these accruals where planning, everything in terms of planning has been done and work has been done, and we commission those projects and we.
So that mission is that you are landed with a situation where you're not meeting your own timelines in terms of implementation.
You know, they are too efficient. They are too efficient. They finish projects way beyond their stated timelines. And I thought you would have an interest in saying, you know what, these are the projects that were ended earlier than their scheduled time and constituted so much of the accruals, just like that.
The point I wanted to raise was, all right, I'm really interested to get a breakdown of these projects. But I wish to see, I want to see this speed. But the one point I always make is, we had 6 years to prepare for the World Cup, and we did one hell of a job. You know, we got it on time to the T. So if there's excellence of some sort, why then do we have these problems in terms of infrastructure? I'm trying to understand. I just battle. I get a sense of the rushed payments, chairperson. The 189 million rand underspent, in what areas was that?
I thought you still want a breakdown on the projects that led to the accruals.
Chair, you know why I raised that question the last time. So if it doesn't appear in any of the things that have been submitted, I'm going to take it as if it's not there. Because
No.
I don't want Chair to divorce May from today.
Yeah, no, I thought
Okay.
you'll give him the space to talk to, because Comrade Minister, looking at the list of things to be done, this question on those companies that finished early was there in May, in terms of the list of information that was supposed to be sent to us after the hearing, which has not been done. It's number 6 here in our spreadsheet. Companies paid because they finished ahead of schedule. Which companies are these? Why were they paid earlier than they should have been? Who made the determination on should be paid ahead of what? So it is a question that was raised in terms of seeking detail then. Do we have those details? Because I would imagine that's very important for you in terms of explaining the accruals and to show that it had nothing to do with over expenditure necessarily. Because if you look at the irregular expenditure in terms of your own report of December 2016, you have a lot of projects where they went overboard in terms of payment.
Thanks, Chair. The project that went way ahead of its program, it is the Guyana project that eventually led us into irregular payment. We've got details as to how much was paid.
But that's what we want. I'm saying
Yes.
beyond Guyana. If you say Guyana was completed in time, and so you had to pay them in this financial year, how much was it? So that we subtracted from that 500 million, and which other project we subtract, so that we're able to say, oh, okay, these accruals were indeed incurred because projects were finished in time.
Chair, the project that I'm aware of that was finished, was ahead of its schedule is Guyane. I will provide details of the invoices that we had with us at the end of the financial year, but we had invoices on Guyane. Thanks.
So it's Guyane. We can't use it as a general statement because in May that was actually put across as the main, in fact, as the only reason. But no, it's not a problem. It's just that our projects were finished. You were not there, Ms. Mate. So that's why we were looking for this breakdown. But it turns out it's only Guyane. Continue.
Chair, so we're dealing with 15, 16. How much did you, wait, let me put it this way. Did the department rather underspend in 14, 15? And if it did, by how much?
Yeah, in 14-15, yes, there was an underspending of about plus or minus 2 billion.
CFO, acting DG rather, sorry. You, so you had these commitments. What were your commitments going into 16, 17?
What were your commitments going into 2016-17?
Okay. In 15-16, our commitment was 9.4 billion. And of that, approved and contracted was 487 million, and approved but not yet contracted was 54 million. And that was relates to goods and services. Then we had infrastructure projects commitments, of which approved and contracted was 8.8 billion, and approved not contracted was 30 million. That gives a total of 9.4 billion.
Did Treasury approve of these rollovers?
Is that in 2014-15 or 15-16?
If we may start 14, 15, 16, 15, 16, so that we can place it in its context. And then 16, 17. Let's do those 3 years, so we can place 15, 16 in a proper context. Or maybe let's put it generally then. Has Treasury approved any rollovers in that 3-year period? 14, 15, 16, 15, 16, 16, 17. Which enable you to settle these accruals?
As far as I know, Chair, no. But I can verify that information because it was before my time.
Okay. So how did you settle these accruals? So what process was then embarked upon to deal with this particular situation of accruals and payables?
Sorry, Chair, my colleague DDG Infrastructure wanted to respond on an earlier question about rollovers.
Thanks, Chair. 14-15, there were some rollovers that were approved. 15-16, after the 2 billion under expenditure, no rollovers were approved. And then it necessitated that as in the following year, we had to make adjustments then into the project that we already approved so that we could accommodate the rollovers that were not approved. 16, 17.
Wait. To accommodate the rollovers that were not approved, or to accommodate the accruals?
The accruals, sorry. Yes, sorry.
Chair, thanks. You know why I ask. I still fundamentally, Chairperson, believe that had these payments been done at year end 2016, the department would have incurred and overexpended, well, obviously. and-
Unauthorized expenditure.
Yeah. And there was a malicious compliance. I am still yet to hear a succinct counter to that claim. There wasn't one in May, and I doubt I'm going to find one today. Because, Chair, a question to the Minister. Did National Treasury approve a department's requested rollover of 1.6 billion rands, 1.5 billion rands, and so on? National Treasury has not yet approved my department's request for rollovers. So now, you see, that adjustment which is being spoken of is a malicious adjustment that is being referred to. So there's this maneuvering outside process to right. That's not happened. We'll adjust. We will. Chair, I feel like I'm hitting my head against the wall because these issues were raised last time, and the forthcoming responses are the same as the last time. I am still adamant of that conclusion. But Chair, I heard that the CEO of Lepelle is here, and I crave your indulgence, Chairperson, in this regard, because the Minister has spoken at length about Lepelle. And I'm not sure whether now or at a later stage, to get some sorts of, not responses, we're not about to have an exchange between the C and the Minister here. For us to get a sense of, or rather for the C to take us into his confidence about addressing the challenges which have been presented before us, since he's made all the effort of coming here. But right, Chair. Then we've got this perennial problem in government, and I always make the point that if any of us in this room were not paid on payday, any of us from the committee side, the department, any person here who receives a salary, if they are not paid on the day in which they're supposed to be paid, you'll see them on Twitter, you'll see them on Facebook, you will see them phoning everybody, questioning what, hey, my debit orders are bouncing, this has not been paid, this has not been paid, because all of us subscribe to a 30-day cycle. Why are service providers not being paid within 30 days? And we subject them to the kind of headache that we try and avoid ourselves. So at the end of the financial year 15-16, how much did you owe with AMA service providers? 30 days. Why are we not adhering to that particular one? 30 days. Where's the problem there?
Thank you, Chair. At the end of 2015-16 financial year, 36 million rand worth of invoices were not paid within 30 days. We did acknowledge that prior to 2015-16, there were challenges about internal controls in terms of making sure that invoices are received in one central point where the tracking could become much easier. We receive invoices from different regions, about 9 regions, including the head office. So prior to this, we had a serious challenge of making sure that all invoices are accounted for at one central point as they enter the department. It's still a work in progress. I'm not claiming here that 100% of invoices are paid within 30 days, but we have made a significant improvement on that.
How much interest were you charged for on this 36 million rands after you had gone over your 30 days? And then I'd be interested to know how much was your 60 days and your 90 days and your 120 days.
No, fortunately, in the 36 million rand, we did not pay any interest.
60 days?
We did not pay any interest on late payment of invoices because subsequent to that, we process all the invoices. Yeah. As I mentioned earlier, these are multi-year projects, is service providers that we deal with on a month-to-month basis.
So the service providers ordinarily had their paperwork up to date? The shortcoming was on the part of the department.
It's
In
a
terms of
process.
the 36 million rand.
Is a process that involves service providers and ourselves, because projects after after we receive the claim certificate, the engineers and quantity surveyors have to go on site, do the verification together with the service provider.
No. I think if you had the details, you would say out of the 36 million, 20 million was as a result of a dispute around amounts and invoices. So much it was because of our own administrative delays. In that way, it will assist us. But if you don't have those details, then say, well, I don't have those details.
The details not available.
Chair, I don't have the details here now, but I will make the list of the breakdown of this to the chair.
So I'm going to assume, Kabazela, that when you say you've made progress, that as we ended 16, 17 in March and we anticipate the reports next month, we are not going to have invoices of 30 days of a higher amount than 36 million rands. If the systems you suggest are in place are functional. For your commitment in that regard.
Chair, we shall provide a report in terms of the aging of our invoices, how much we are within 30 days, how much are within 60 days, at the end of 16-17 financial year. And that will sort of explain or indicate the question that member is raising.
Sure. What I'm saying is,
Yeah, what he's saying is the problem is not eliminated.
ngifuna that kind of admission angiyifuni le diplomatic chair ukuthi 36 million rands 15-16. Kabazela says he's not claiming 100%. So I'm saying, should we expect a lesser amount? Ilula nje sihlalo ewe noma cha. But then if that's not the case, it would mean lama systems ekhulunywa ngawo for all intents and purposes besihlalo macashelana.
Chair, I don't want to commit any figure. It's better if I look at the actual figures at year end. Then I will present the information.
Well, he was not looking for a figure. He was merely saying, as at the end of the financial year, at the end of March this year, did you or did you not have outstanding invoices that had not been paid? So it's either no, we had them, or no, we did not have them. The question of how much, I think that's what we'll deal with when the report comes. But the principle, please, sure.
No, I think what we can indicate is that it's the number of invoices that we can demonstrate, including the amounts. But what is of importance, Honorable Hlengwa, is that some of the invoices vary on the basis of a project. And I thought possibly that's what we should actually be able to explain, that you may find one project that is worth 200 million and it's only one invoice. And it's those things that I think the acting DG must actually finish the committee with. But what you would then see is that the number of outstanding invoices has actually decreased.
Yeah, no, sir. Let's allow him to finish. When he's done and she's done, then we'll allow every other minute.
I just want to clarify on the issue, because there was reports before the portfolio committee that answers to the question that he's asking now.
Just bear with us. We'll give you the opportunity to come in.
Chair, So I'm going to assume that we are anticipating a higher figure, and I will only be proved wrong by the final report. But yeah. All right. Of the accruals on goods and services, it was for travel. Uduma travel, uhambe hlala, no pagis. What is going on? Giwapi. Why is this? What's going on in terms of the travel section? Who's going where? Besides coming to account to SCOPA.
Chair, we have a number of infrastructure projects all over the country, and our engineers, they travel a lot. Some, they stay a week or two in different places. Like if you have to travel to the warp in Limpopo from your head office. So it's a number of them. So we do have a high expenditure in traveling for various officials at different levels. Some of it is coming to Cape Town for senior officials, but in the main is mainly at the regional offices as well as head offices, visiting or doing oversights and management of projects at various places.
I hear that, Principal Chair. So how much in these accruals on goods and services, just how much was the amount on travel?
Chair, I don't have the exact information in front of me here, but we did prepare a spreadsheet that detailed that, and we can make it available today, Chair.
You see, this is precisely Nkulego's frustration. It's precisely because Chair, I would be expecting after we had raised these matters so sharply in May, and the CFO was there on that day, so he knows very well just the extent to which we. So now it's we on that day we were specific, detailed. We were specific. Minister, I want to assure you, or you can get to the recording, and just so you can appreciate our frustration. We were raising the same questions, looking for details. The expectation is that when you come back today, for goodness sake, you are able to provide details. Manja, again, we're getting these generic blanket one-size-fits-all responses, and we are particular about why we want the details, because we need to pick up the trends and so on in these things. Manja, we are just going back to square one. Go 120 kilometers per hour, and we are rushing back there to square one. So, Chair, this travel, I'm really interested, but I want to get to the nitty-gritties of it. But now, we are handicapped by the absence of these details. Chair, at the end of, I'm doing this to draw a parallel. If I'm out of order, you'll tell me, Chair, if I'm preempting a future hearing. So, as the financial year ended in March, without maybe getting into this, what is the general state of health around accruals? To write March 31, we close the books. The report is coming out in September next month. What's the, I want to say general consensus. What are the circumstances of accruals as things stand now? Because Vele Chair, some of the things we should get, because there's month-on-month reporting, quarter-to-quarter reporting. So generally, we should be able to. Oh, but I want to zoom into absence of change in these things after they've been raised.
All right, let
Yeah.
them respond, then you can make the judgment.
Chair, I would say we are managing our accruals very well, but the figures, in terms of figures, it might not be as in recorded in 2015-16, 36 million. It might be higher than that, but in terms of managing it and knowing how to pay for it, and whether how far we've paid for it, I can give that assurance that we are managing our accruals, and we'll give a report once the report is out. We'll give a detailed report in terms of how we have managed our accruals at year end.
Chair, of the, where's this thing now? Of the 189 million rands that you underspent on, in which areas was this underspent? Saying Chair, because these generic responses angnyusela njenge-BP.
Yeah, Bona, I was about to say ngathi uyagula nje.
In which ungathuki minister seriously iyasigulisa le nto, sigulisa lokhu serious. Sifikela siphila saka siyagula. So 189 million rands underspent, in which areas was that? Which programs? So if we can break it down,
It was mainly under compensation of employees' budget because we were busy with the review of our organizational structure. So we put a moratorium in filling positions. So the bulk of it was in program 1 and partly of program 2.
Can we just get that in writing so we get the exact figure as opposed to the generic term of bulk and what, just the breakdown of that? Because, Chair, the implication is that imali yasiphelile ke makunjalo in terms of the budget. Because if in all the other areas we had exhausted those budgets, the allocations, let's assume there was an allocation for whatever. So if it's in those areas, then the outstanding invoices, or 30 days, I'm inclined to believe that then some of them were not paid because we had exceeded allocation. I'm prepared to make that gamble. Which we arrived at the end of the financial year and Mali was not there for those invoices. And hence I make the point fundamentally, had some of these things been paid, they would have been unauthorized, and there was a malicious compliance to say rather let's not pay, so that, because that is a lesser transgression as opposed to unauthorized expenditure. That is just fundamentally the problem. Yeah, thanks for the reminder. And an environment was created for such. And Chair, it then goes, as I round up, it then goes to this fundamental point. What is the state of health of the audit committee in the department? Because we need to then have, did they raise these matters? Did they sound the warnings? And if they did, who didn't listen to them? If they didn't, why are they there? Because we've made the point time and time again. And in one interaction at the very outset of the life of this fifth parliament, we raised that fundamental point with that former DG, forget his surname now, don't wanna get it wrong, to say month-to-month reporting, quarter-to-quarter report, to sound the warning bells. So I'm really interested to know on the state of health and functionality of the audit committee, and so that we can have sight of their reports, because we need to be able to, cross-reference these issues. If a functional audit committee would raise these things, and somebody must react constructive. So what is the state of health of the audit committee? Who's who in the zoo?
All right.
Thank you, Chairperson. Before 2015, there was an audit committee that was really not functioning. It was actually not adding any value whatsoever. Then when the former DG, Ms. Diedrichs, came on board, we started with a process to change that. We have since then established a new audit committee under the leadership of the chairperson, Mr. Duplessis, who himself comes from the AG. He's assisted by 2 other members. The audit committee now is functioning very well. We have regular quarterly meetings with the audit committee. Some of the interactions of the audit committee is nearly similar like the SCOPA hearing. And they are greatly assisting us in moving forward. So yeah, from one that was not functioning, we have now moved on to one that is properly functioning and assisting us, showing us weaknesses as we proceed. The quarterly reports, I'm sure, can be made available to the committee.
Okay.
Thanks. Chair, may I just go back? My attention has been brought to something which ordinarily had been an oversight on my part. And I apologize for that. Chair, on page 202 of the annual report, it speaks to the spending per program. Now, you see, acting DG says a bulk of that was on compensation. But administration spent 99.9% of its budget. I'm confuzzled. Water planning and information management, final expenditure 97.7% of that allocation. Water infrastructure development 99.1%. Water and sanitation services 96.1%. Water sector regulation 96.6%. I'm trying to then understand, Uti, how do we arrive at a bulk of that being compensation, or is this compensation within those programs?
Yes, Chair. The compensation budget was around those programs, especially around water infrastructure development, where we struggle to fill key engineering positions within infrastructure and project managers. So it is around, like the bulk of it was in program 3.
Okay. So, Chair,
But program 3 is 99.1% spent. Okay. Out of a budget of 11 billion, is it? Am I reading the figures correctly?
Yeah.
So, but 1% of that's 100 million.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, all right. No, that's fine. Makes arithmetical sense. Okay.
then, and at the very least, then my conclusion is correct. I see yeah, there was no money, and there was no space for deviations. Now, can those variances be explained, in particularly the variance in the water infrastructure development, program 3? What happened there?
Thanks, Chair. DDG Infrastructure will talk to it.
Thanks, Chair. The challenges that we faced with I think it's around 40 million that was not spent. It was more on the bucket eradication program. Portion of it had to come from infrastructure as an allocation for bulk pipelines that were going to be connected to the BEP.
Wait, are you saying 40 million that was not spent, or 40 million that was taken from that project from that program to other programs?
It was not spent. More than 100 million was on compensation of employees from the 189 million, and then I can't remember what was it, 110, which was compensation of employees, and then there's another one from the bucket eradication, and can I get the details there, because we have the information, Chair. But not all of the 189 was from infrastructure program. It was the CO, about 110 was a compensation of employees, and then there was a 40 that we could not spend because of the BEP. It was a bucket eradication allocation.
But the 40 million on that page, it's environment. And our understanding of that word means that that amount was taken from that program to another program. And I thought this question was, this 40 million was taken from this program to which program?
Can I just do proper verification? But the BEP, much as it was in program, is in program 4. As I was trying to explain, that there's a portion of the BEP which is in program 3, which is the bulk infrastructure. It's the pipelines that are supposed to be connecting to the bucket eradication, which was in program 4. I just want to get the exact figure of how much was for bulk infrastructure linked to bucket eradication, which was under program 3.
Okay.
Chair, I think I have just two things I want to say. Chairperson, this report that we received this morning, this one, I just requested, can it be dated so that in reference to it, it's not in a vacuum. We know as to at what particular point we are speaking to Chairperson. Chair, I hope that the things I've requested of the committee to be provided in writing will be provided. And then, Chair, finally, I want to okay. I want to say, Chair, without exaggerating the point, but to ensure that it's captured correctly. It's quite clear, Chairperson, that there's a problem. And we can diagnose it in so many ways. But Chair, surely lezi kweletu are a problem, Chair. And for me, that's the problem, Chair. But you see, the budget masses are exhausted at the end of the year, and you are landed with this kind of problem. I still maintain that there is a serious lack of internal controls. Chair, I request that we get these things in writing, be given an opportunity to study them, so that if there's a need for us to then come and get specific answers on those things, but really speak to detail. Because the custodians of the details, the department, and we are being done a disservice of the highest order if we are.
Okay.
So, Kabazela, thank you very much.
All right. Okay. Okay. Comrade Shilwan.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Mine today, Chair, is not going to be that much long, because the Honorable Minister spoke to issues of irregular expenditure. Chair, I just want to get a clear indication in terms of the the page that we've been handed over here, this one. Yes. When you go to page 6, for a start, Chairperson, when you go to page 6, paragraph E. Paragraph E, Chairperson, I think it's the explanation when we're asking earlier, when we had the hearing with the department, to explain that the initial contract of 2.2 billion, including VAT, is 2.5 billion, was paid, and it was a fast-tracking project, paid to Guyana project. Chair, in terms of the explanation here, is that in terms of the scope of work, the project was supposed to go for 5 years, but then this one took only 2 years. Maybe as a point of departure, Chairperson, is just to ask, was the department entirely happy with the work that was done for them to pay this 2.5 billion? Maybe that will be the point of
Okay.
departure, Chairperson,
Yeah.
to
Was
ask
the
the question.
department happy with the work done?
Thanks very much, Chair. I think the quality of the Guyana project has been uploaded by actually various state entities, National Treasury, and the AG itself. They have been on the ground. We're very much pleased with the quality of work.
All right. Okay.
As a result, I think they are calling it a Rolls Royce.
Well, I don't know. I'll. Yes.
Chairperson, I'm sure everybody's happy with the Rolls Royce. But Chair, from a point of accounting, a point of financial management, you'll ask yourself why the AG has raised this issue in terms of this payment. Because probably from where I'm sitting, Chairperson, if a scope of work was agreed to a period of 5 years, and then it being expedited for probably for delivering of service that people should get water. But in terms of financial management, something somewhere it doesn't meet. Okay. I'm saying this, it raises suspicious. If you pay someone something that has been done in a very, like you're saying, it's everybody has uploaded it, and I'm also uploading it because I'm a representative of the people. People expect to get service delivery. But then why did the AG pick it up as an irregular expenditure?
Thank you, Chair. Guyana is irregular because a portion of it, AG argues that it was not an emergency. AG argues that a certain, I think it's 294, that they're arguing that according to their definition of irregular, amounts to irregular. Their definition of emergency is in fact emergency. But I think the minister has alluded to in details in terms of the pressures that we had to we faced on the ground, leading to us being unable to cut off that portion that AG deems emergency from the entire scope of work. That arose primarily because what then happened on the ground, which sometimes becomes very different from what you then have to put in your financials, is the fact that in Guyana, when you touched a particular part of that network, you would then discover that the other area, the pipes burst. There is a serious challenge of aging in AC pipes in Guyana. That was another challenge that we were grappling with, that as we were trying to fix, the other challenge was that you were then actually arousing people in the other area because their pipes were bursting. Not to say that as a department we are disputing the fact that we may have gone to areas that perhaps we could have prevented, but the challenges the minister has explained, that there were challenges on the ground, that you touch this side, the other side burst, and because of the AC pipelines.
Okay.
So on that explanation, the National Treasury did agree in terms of, I believe that during the audit, performance audit, during audit when the AG is doing audit, you have your management meeting. And like you are saying, you have got the permission in terms of the National Treasury, and in terms that it was an emergency project that was supposed to have happened. But then your management meeting with the AG, because if it was that issue, AG would have been able to say, this is where, in terms of the explanation that we have received from the department during the audit. So what is the relationship, not necessarily the relationship, what is your response in what the AG has picked in terms of the financial management to that regard?
The response in terms of the additional scope of work that the AG has raised as irregular, we as a department, we have put our position. One, we have not considered to that fact. As a result, we have written to AG, and we have indicating that we still believe that that particular scope of work was supposed to have been handled the way it was handled. But I will allow maybe the
Yeah, no, it's fine. Let's continue. You've answered the question. You say you are disputing the findings of the AG. I think that's what answers her question.
Chairperson, it doesn't sit comfortable to hear a department raising an issue of saying they are disputing. Of course, it is within their rights, but because this is a serious matter, Chairperson, which maybe put the department in a bad light in terms of this irregular expenditure, because it's a lot of money, and to come and say that you are disputing with the AG. I don't know from this point if we are able to exhaust that one, but just to say that we, as we sit here, AG is part of our stakeholder. We hold departments accountable based on what the AG has, on the findings of the AG in terms of your audit. Because 2.5 billion as it is, it's true, you have to be a breakdown to say we have really managed to get what we wanted. But in terms of rands and cents as this committee, that is important on us. And for you to come here, Honorable Minister, department saying your department is disputing with the AG, then it means for us, we can't do oversight. Chairperson, I'm just not comfortable with what the latest response that I've got, Chairperson.
Yeah,
Help me.
No. I think let's continue. It's okay if they're disputing, but at the end there will be a finding by the Auditor General, and that is what is going to be binding. They may be toing and froing in terms of, management letters, those kind of correspondences, but at the end of the day there will be a finding, and that is what is going to be the base of our interaction. That's how I would want us to leave it at?
Yes, Chair. I want us to also appreciate that it's not the entire project in its entirety. It's that space that the AG raises the issues of the area of scope,
Yeah,
which is
no.
in the tune of 249 million, and correctly so. We are engaging with the AG and will take the outcome that has been raised by the
Sure.
Auditor General.
Sure.
Chairperson, when you go to, I'll move from that one, Chairperson. When you go to page 292 on the details of the irregular expenditure, and I want to, I guess it's in terms of the response on the page that this page that was provided by the department this morning, in terms of the incidents where they are mentioned one by one. When you check the progress, I think it's the progress in terms of the resolutions on these incidents, is that in all areas is disciplinary action taken. Maybe one would want to ask, when was this initiation actioned?
Thank you, Chairperson. The first three on that list, ma'am, Honourable Member, is for the 3 security companies. As I indicated, that process, and the rest is in that sheets. We've provided the exact date of the incident, the date disciplinary action was taken. So the detail thereof is in the list that we've provided. But all of them, some were taken prior, and some were taken within the last few months.
I think I'm going to ask the same question as was asked by Honorable Tim. The last few months, just after you left the hearing that we had in June, or it's the same one, the prior one?
Chairperson, some were before we came here. You'll see there's some that action was taken just after the close of the financial year in last year, for instance, KZN. The rest was after our investigations. So there's different dates. It's not like the ones that we came here that were just issued in the Northern Cape on one day. It varies across the time.
Okay.
It was not Northern Cape, it was Limpopo.
It was Limpopo. Limpopo and Northern. It was Limpopo and Northern Cape, Chairperson.
Limpopo and Northern Cape.
Yes, it was
Oh,
Limpopo and Northern Cape.
All right.
When you check on the on still going to the Guyana project. When you check on the general, the last page, Chairperson, there's where it say all expenditure related to Guyana project is irregular due to non-compliance with supply chain management policies. And the same applies to the other infrastructure projects. Chairperson, I can see here in terms of the disciplinary actions that were taken, others is because they did not follow supply chain management processes. But I'm still going to go back, Chairperson, to that project, to that irregular expenditure. Notwithstanding the issue that was raised by the Honorable Minister in terms of the investigations, which I don't know if this project is part of the investigation. Maybe I'm still going to ask that question. To say, Honorable Minister, it is really, I think it is really unfair to say that we'll do investigations on somebody who did not follow supply chain management processes. Because I'm saying this, Honorable Minister, here the list, all of the issues, if you can check, 80% of them, it's people who do not follow supply chain management processes. And for that, it might take even 4 to 5 years still for the department to come to a conclusion, or whoever on the investigation who has done the wrong things in terms of just following the processes. I think we cannot just say we are going to pay money to investigate money that is lost or money that was misused for CSM procedures. SCM procedures, supply chain management. It's better if I call it in full, because if I call it doesn't work. Supply chain management. I just want to state that, Honorable Minister, if we can talk to that one really.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member Chilwane. The ones that you are referring to are matters that are already receiving attention. But over and above that, you'll remember there are sections, I think it's 28 and the others that have to do with management. And those are the ones that warrant a further investigation on the failure to comply with the supply chain management. That those are the ones that already action is being taken against those members. Thanks.
Chairperson, I'm going to talk again on that page 292. There's an amount of 1.3 billion down there. It's in the green. In the green, it's inclusive of the irregular expenditure, which the contractor was appointed for the 2014-2015. What is the progress in terms of that irregularity? Progress report.
Chairperson, that block there refers to Guyane, the very subject we are dealing with. So it's not another project. And as I'm saying, there are issues related to supply chain in our regions, in the department, and also with Lepelle that one spoke about in terms of dealing with the issues of management and contract management. And the other issues have to do then with the investigation on other further details that are related to this project. But on the issues that are up there, including these ones, it is still predominantly your Guyane project. Thanks, ma'am.
Honorable Minister, maybe for our own understanding, is the Guyane also part of the investigation?
Yes, Guyane is being investigated by the SIU, by the public protector, including by the department, and we also have a service provider, Ernst & Young, that is also busy, that has done a verification and validation, yes.
Chairperson, through you, I hate it just to talk to the minister. You know, Honorable Minister, the Ernst & Young, what is it that they are doing actually, and how much are you paying them?
Thanks. Part of the appointment of Ernst & Young is to ensure that you have an independent capacity to verify and validate a project of this particular nature, given also how it was initiated on an emergency basis, but also the matters that have been raised, including some of the issues that I have also raised here today, to say part of these the costs that go with Guyane were picked up, that we even went to an extent of doing maintenance whilst we were actually delivering the project because of the absence of capacity in Mopane, and these were the things that were picked up by the Ernst & Young team that was actually helping us, and it has also been engaging with National Treasury and helping us on how to move forward, including now in this financial year. But on how much has been paid on Ernst & Young, I'm sure the CEO of Lepelle can be in a position to explain.
Thanks, Honorable Minister and the Chair. We are paying Ernst & Young on a varying scale of fee per hour in terms of their own professional standards. On a monthly basis, we are not paying them anything less than 400,000.
For how long have you, Ernst & Young assisting? Up to when?
They will be ending in December with the project ending, and they started 2 years back.
They started 2 years back. Okay. Okay. They started 2 years back, and if it then it means it's 2 years back. They started in 2015. 2015. Correct. I'm correct, ne?
That's correct.
Correct. And it's 2007 now. Just want to 2017 now. I just want to 2015. So they started immediately after you've just paid off the because you no. Okay, let me just rephrase my question. When did you last pay when was the last payment to Giyani project? Which month?
The last payment we made was yesterday. Can I explain further, Chair, on the involvement of Ernst & Young? Given the
Chairperson, I agree that he can explain, but I just want to, can I first ask the questions, Chairperson, and then he will explain, because I'm just trying to get into something. Just want to clarify something.
Okay.
When I started with this explanation that you have given to us as a committee, that you've expedited, not you, the project that was initiated with Giyani was expedited, and then you've paid them. They've done the work of 5 years in 2 years' time in terms of this explanation. And they were supposed to finish it on the 18th of August 2019. So which means they've finished that work in 2016. No, I don't know, somebody's shaking his head, but this is what is written.
Just ask your question. Don't mind shaking heads. Just
no,
ask
I
the question
feel
and then let's get the response.
Yeah. Yeah. Chairperson, you've paid the no, Giyani. The one that you've paid yesterday is Ernst & Young, or is Giyani? Because I was asking, which month did you pay Giyani, the last payment?
It was the service providers in Giyani, Chair, but it will be good if I make an explanation on the involvement of EY so that the member can proceed from an informed basis. Can I go ahead, Chair?
All right, yeah, go ahead.
Given the scale and enormity of the project, also the size, and the fact that we are implementing it on an emergency basis, we conducted what we call risk assessment on any project implementation, and we came to a conclusion that there is a need for us to beef up our project management team. The efficient and excellent deliverables that we are talking about on this project are also a direct result of these project management measures that we have put in place. And those include the team from Lebel and DWS, which are on the ground, as well as Ernst & Young, with a specific mandate to pool multidisciplinary team of professionals, audit, finance, technical. Whenever there is a certificate that has to be paid, we don't do that with our eyes closed, Chair. The team will assess the work, vis-a-vis the amount of the draft claim that is there, and give us an assurance that there is value for money. This project started on an emergency basis in August 2014. It was supposed to run for a span of 5 years. Now it's ending in December this year, the emergency phase. Thank you.
Chairperson, in terms of what you have explained, in terms of the project, you have received invoices of 2.5 invoices you've received, and then 2.3 billion was paid in by March 2017. That is what you are saying here in terms of this document that is in front of us. You see, that is why I was saying, let me ask the question, and then you pushed, you wanted yourself so that you are able to, I may follow up properly. But what I'm following up properly, it's what it is written here.
Can I respond? I think what is indicated here is the global project value, the 2.5, which would be applicable until the end of the project, which we are saying is December 2015. It does not in any event suggest that, as at the time when the committee meeting was taking place previously, 2.5 million had already been paid.
Okay. You've contracted Ernst & Young from 2015 to for 2 years. They've already worked for 2 years, isn't it? And then you're paying them 400,000, I don't know, per month or per the work that you have agreed upon. How much have you paid them for the past 2 years?
I do not have the global figure of CAF share. What I indicated is we are paying them on a fee scale per hour, and the rough figure per month I know is in the region of 400,000. So I would have to go down and make thorough additions and come up with the global figure.
That's fine. So the rough figure should be around 11 million so far.
But according to my calculation,
9
Chairperson.
million.
Oh, okay. 9.6.
Right, 9 million, somewhere there. Okay, 10 million. Fine, 10 million, 11 million.
Just for investigation, probably. And public protector is busy with the case, Chair. The SIU is busy with the case. The department is busy with the case. Ernst & Young is busy with the case. And Ernst & Young, we've already paid almost 10 million, and we are continuing.
If I must speak on issues of investigations, we don't choose, and I think, Honorable Chilwane, you're raising something important. Some of the investigations, like the one that has to do with the public protector, they referred to an article on the City Press, and they decided that they are going to deal with the matter. So we aren't in a position to stop the public protector in doing that particular work. Secondly, it is the same also with the special investigating units. They act on their own being. Ernst & Young is not doing investigation, it's doing verification and validation in view of the issues and the scope of this project and how it was actually put. And that's what then the implementing agent had to pull, so that then you also have, they have a benefit of an observation over and above what is coming from their own service provider. So that's what I wanted to clarify. These others are not our own initiatives. They were initiated already, especially the public protector one had already started prior to, post when we had already started doing the work. And the SIU, as I've said, the SIU has actually indicated that they are looking at this case, and we have also agreed that we would collaborate with them. The AG
No,
is raising
no,
concern on the
No, that's
249
fine.
million.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
Chairperson, I hope on Ernst and Young we have followed the proper procurement policies, because it's a lot of money. Have we done that? Go to tender and all processes as expected.
We followed the procurement procedure as permitted by our supply chain management regulations, Chair, read together with the National Treasury regulations as well.
And when are they finishing?
Their involvement is tied to the lifespan of the project. They are ending December 2017.
Chairperson, for your indulgence, I just want to go back to the issue of the payment made already, the shorter period of the project. I don't know, maybe I can't, I can't filter it right in my mind in terms of the explanation, because according to me, it was that Guyana project is done and dusted. No, I'm saying in terms of the conclusion, because she said earlier that everybody is happy about the project. So I think, yes. So I'm trying to, I just want to try to understand, because you're saying now the project will be finished by December. It's 4 months down. And then when I'm thinking is that, so we might expect that the irregular expenditure might go beyond this 2.5 billion. If maybe I can just get that clear indication, Chairperson.
Thanks, Chair. The 2.5 is the phase 1 that is going to be completed in December. We are planning to embark on phase 2. The project entailed the laying of pipes.
All right. No, that's fine.
Yes.
The 2 billion is for phase 1, which is ending in December.
Thank you on that one, Chairperson. I think I'm answered. I just want to ask some few questions, Chairperson. It's really better, Minister, that you are here. Last time I was so stressed out, like Honorable Shengo when he say he's sick, because today at least I can get some answers. There are 2 companies which were paid twice. Why did that happen? And which are those companies?
Sorry, Chair, just for clarity, is it in relation to Guyana or?
No, it's in relation to fruitless and wasteful expenditure. I didn't ask it, my colleague, so I've noted that question.
Thanks, Chair. It's not companies, it's actually our entity, Rainwater, that was paid twice. And I think that's what we were referring to earlier on, that We are now in the process of recovering that money. It was duplicate invoices that went through the system. Well, we've also admitted it was due to, at that time, lack of internal controls.
Okay.
So it's only Rand Water, the company.
Yeah, I think it's Rand Water, but I'm just opening up my information, but I think it is Rand Water. I have it here.
All right.
It is 52 million that was paid to implementing agents, and that is Rand Water. Yes, thank you.
Chairperson, just to go back to the issue of investigation. Honorable Minister, you only have this one investigation in the department, or is there any other investigations maybe that you can share us with the committee?
We have an investigation that includes, amongst others, the Kiane project, and with your permission, then we can write to the portfolio to the committee, and then send you the report that has prompted further investigation. If the committee wants to have a glimpse of the report.
Well, of course, we want to have a full sense of the report, not just a glimpse. Yeah, okay. Yeah, no, it's fine. Yes, yeah, sure. Two more. Let me see comrades who want to make follow-ups. All right, it's fine. She has two last questions. Just ask both of them, let them respond, and then we give comrades. We're almost at 10 to 1. So, and we're only halfway.
Chairperson, from the disciplinary action and the recovering of the monies in terms of officials who did not comply, have we recovered something? Is there any money that has been recovered to someone? And how much have we recovered?
Thanks, Chair. I'm actually in receipt of the detailed report on duplicate payments. 399,000 was paid to Libele Northern, Rand Water 10 million, Chris Hani Municipality 12.7 million, Amatole Water 2.3 million, Water Trading Entity 7.4 million, CDB Water 568,000 rand. This amount has not been the remaining 83 out of the 30 the amount that was disclosed was 52. So out of the 52 million, 33 that we are certain for sure that it was duplicate payment. The remaining 18 million, it has not been confirmed as a true duplicate payment, as the implementing agent have since submitted the correct supporting documents, which means that we may have to reverse the 18 million. But the rest, there is already a debt that has been raised against those, and I understand that Rand Water has started paying theirs. Thank you.
Okay, Chairperson, with your permission, maybe if we can get that report that she's reading for reporting purposes.
All right.
My last question, Chairperson, it's on, I don't know how to put it, it's on the bills, between the department and the municipalities. Because I know there are municipalities that, I don't know how does it work, in terms, does it owe the water entities or the implementing agency? What is the relationship, not the relationship, how much is owed by municipalities in the whole country?